Thank you. Appreciate this opportunity to spend a few minutes with you. Running for the Railroad Commission. You know, this Railroad Commission, of course, doesn't have anything to do with the railroads. It has to do with oil and gas. How it was created, and it's the oldest state agency. In 1890, it was created, the Railroad Commission, to help the farmers to get their products to the market by rail. In 1901, when spindle top was discovered, and everyone was starting to punch a bunch of holes in the ground, the state decided they needed an agency that had some engineers to help oversee that process. And so the Railroad Commission was the only one that had engineers, and that's how they began overseeing the oil and gas industry. And over time, the railroads became totally taken over by the federal government by the 40s, and then that's how the Railroad Commission wound up just being with the oil and gas industry. I'm here with my son, Andy, who is one of 6 of our boys that went through the ALERT program, which is just a few miles down the street there at Big Sandy. And from of our 6 boys that went through there, 2 of them went directly into the military from there, one in the Navy and the other one in the Army, who just got out after serving 6.5 years in the Army throughout the Middle East, in Afghanistan and Europe. And the ALERT Academy is what has made our young men, the fine young men that they have turned out to be. We live down in Fort Bend County, which is just southwest of Houston. My wife and I, Melissa, have been married for 34 years. We have a cattle ranch operation down there. But my main business is I have investments in the oil and gas industry, from midstream, upstream, downstream companies, and we have a working oil gas well on our property, so we have royalty interest. But my main business, when I was 19, I began buying rent houses and moved to the Houston area in 1986 with 2 kids, and bought my first 80-unit complex and started my company with 2 employees. Today it's grown to 4,900 apartments and 350 employees scattered throughout the Houston area. As our business grew, our family grew. After a couple miscarriages, my wife and I decided, being pro-life, that we would explore adoptions, and we began adopting kids from a variety of backgrounds, and most of them from difficult situations. And by 1997, we had a total of 13 kids, of which 11 of them are adopted. What kind of got me involved in politics and fighting government at times is a story in dealing with one of our kids. One of them had a particular issue where he would steal things from other kids at schools, creating a lot of tension between us and the school district in trying to resolve this problem. So one day we took these wrappers from some cookies he had stolen, put them in a plastic bag, put it on his shirt inside his jacket, and sent him off to school with a 2-page note explaining why we were trying this creative technique. If anyone had a problem, give us a call. Instead of calling us, they called CPS, used some hot language, religious family, sent CPS pulling our kids out of school, went into our house without us being there. Kids called me when we arrived. They kept us on the outside. And at the end of that evening, on a Friday, February 11th, the year 2000, about 16 years ago, they took all 13 of our kids. Now that opened my eyes to the overreach of government. We went to an emergency hearing on Monday morning. Court ordered the immediate return of all of our kids, but ordered a home study to be done. When that home study was completed, it concluded I admired the Gateses and I wouldn't hesitate to place my own kids with them. Well, CPS dismissed their case. But that's when a passion woken up in me to fight back. We sued the state of Texas, took 7 years, went all the way to the 5th Circuit, right below the U.S. Supreme Court, and they ruled in our favor and said that the 4th Amendment did apply to the CPS system. And now that case has become the leading case throughout the United States in dealing with, inside over 300 federal cases in dealing with constitutional rights in social workers. And then shortly thereafter, we began working with a number of, thank you. That's when I became involved in working with the legislature and working with a number of representatives in helping to bring CPS reform. In fact, Brian Hughes helped author a bill for his last session in dealing with some additional CPS reform, and Brian, I appreciate your help on that. I'm running for the Railroad Commission because I think the Railroad Commission needs a successful business owner who and I'm the only candidate with the business acumen in dealing with a large business enterprise. The Railroad Commission is made up of 750 employees and operates on about a $180 million 2-year budget. My main platforms is to fight the overreach, the federal overreach, whether it's the EPA, where Obama has declared war on our fossil fuels, standing up for private property rights, and improve agency effectiveness, accountability, and agility. And one of those main ways that's the difference between me and my opponent, is I propose for a name change, changing it to the Texas Energy Commission. There's been some resistance and some thought that somehow that this might bring us under federal oversight. And looking in case law, there's nothing to support that. But by changing the name and making it more applicable to what the agency does, I think will help in bringing some transparency to this agency. Two of the biggest issues that the industry is facing, or this agency is facing, is one is its budget. It operates, like I said, $180 million on a 2-year basis, and because of the drop in commodity prices and the drop in drilling activity, 85% of the funding comes from the industry itself. So this agency is experiencing about a 20 to 25% drop in its income, and so it's going to take someone with the business acumen to navigate those treacherous waters. The other thing is a sunset review. That's a process that happens about every 10 years where a state agency goes through a review, and it can be, the legislature can change its purpose or add some things or take away from its power. This agency has failed the last 2 reviews, and so it's going to be critical getting this through the legislature. And even though I haven't served a day in the legislature, been endorsed by 25 state representatives, and 11 of them, almost 50% of the chairs in the House, have endorsed our campaign. And it's those relationships that's going to be able to help me to be able to get this agency through its critical issues. You know, I have a passion for Texas and a strong belief in the business environment that we've created here. It's that business environment that has allowed me to grow my business from scratch to where it is today. And I want to help maintain that business environment for the oil and gas industry. You know, I can tell you a number of endorsements, but you'll be getting the flyers as they start back up here for the runoff. And then you'll see a number of endorsements that we have from Tea Party groups from across the state of Texas, and a listing of all the 25 reps that have endorsed our campaign. I appreciate your thoughts and consideration for your vote coming up May 24th, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.